hello, all of you, and welcome to this new edition of Lectio Musica, the place for great lyrics, great music, and great meaning. My name is Guilain Prince. I'm a Franciscan friar from Canada, and I love rock music for a long time now, especially hard rock, metal, and prog. In this series, once a week, we look at closely to a new song. Most of the time it's a new song for me, but this is not the case for this week. I've listened to that song 37 years ago when it came out in 1982 from the band Rush. Let me give you the screen right away. So the song is the seventh of a journey of 10 songs. Among the songs, the great repertoire of Rush, over 40 years of career. Last week we did Lamplight from the album Moving Pictures, as usual, reaction and analysis, and this week we already reacted to the song's subdivisions. This video is the analysis of the song. So if you haven't seen the reaction video, please stop this one right away, go and listen to it and come back here. You will have a great moment with it. And the unexpected, I would say, personality of the song makes a lot of sense. It doesn't mean that it was well received by fans at the time. Yes. So, the first song of the album, Signals, in 1982. That's the 9th album of Rush. The composers are Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, as usual, bassman and guitarist, and the lyricist, as usual, is Neil Peart. It's I wrote here by mistake that it was the most common structure for a pop song. It's a cut and paste mistake. It is not a usual structure for a pop song. The structure that you see there, though, is good. It has 2 verses presented here as A. There is what I call a conclusion lines of the verses section presented here as B. If it was more leading towards the chorus, I would have called this a pre-chorus. It is not the case. It really is in continuity with the verses in terms of music. So I put a B there just to say that there's a little something different, but it's pretty much the repetition of the melody of the 2 last lines of the A section. Then there is the chorus represented here as a C, and there is another section presented here as D. Now, as you can see, there are 2 hyphens at the beginning, standing there for to represent the length of the intro, the opening of the song, which is, I would say, I remember, I think it's 3 cycles or 2.5 of a quite long cycle. There you have an inter quite short, and then we go back to the structure of a B, C. This is exactly like the first section in terms of melody. I want to stress to you that the verses A's, the B, and the C, they answer, they respond to each other very well in terms of structure. This is a very well written song. Don't make any mistake, there is no improvisation here. Very well balanced and structured. Now, it is not unusual that before the D section, especially after the chorus in C, you have a bridge. This is quite constant. But what would have been a normal section or a normal structure would have been to come back with the chorus, the C section. They do not do that. And I will explain to you what the bridge What is the meaning, I think, of the bridge? How do I interpret it? Tell me if it makes sense. Like I said, don't want to be right. I want to understand the song. If you can help me, I will happily welcome all your suggestions. Then there's the D section. We will see what it talks about. This is repeated. And in fact, the C and D sections have what I call a chorus quality in terms of melodies. So it could even be said that these are two choruses in a way, which is not exact, but it could be said that way. And a long extra finale. So this is an unusual song in terms of structure, not unseen, but not very often seen, especially considering the fact that this song has been the most successful song in the US. It cracked the top 20, I think, or something like that. And it was quite popular. We will see why. It makes a lot of sense. I think it made sense for a certain group of persons. Let's see who they are. Like I said, the intro is quite unusual because it puts up really all the lights are turned towards the synthesizers. Very heavy synthesizers. It is, for a Rush and a rocker like me, this opening was really not a good news. I remember quite well my first reaction to that song. I think I listened to Signals maybe 5 times, and I didn't go back to the for musical reasons, but also for other reasons. But anyways, Signals didn't trigger in me. The trigger did me the same reaction as Moving Pictures and more recently Permanent Waves. I love these two albums. My first listening to Signals lately, I had pretty much the same reaction, but after listening to it 3-4 times, I do not have the same impression. There's a reason behind the decisions of Rush, and I understand them, and I know why their career lasts 40 years. And others didn't go through that period of time. Very big band. They were not able to make it through. They survived because of these decisions they made. Now, something that we already saw in Tom Sawyer, it's an opening made of synth and drums only. And also, the accents on the third cycle will come very differently. Something is about to happen. So let's notice as well that there's irregular time signatures here. This will be an important element when we will try to understand and to interpret the whole song, musically I mean. Now let's dig into the lyrics. The first verse. Sprawling on the fringes of the city, in geometric order, an insulated border in between the bright lights and the far unlit unknown. This is beautifully written. Sprawling on the fringes of the city, so at the extremity of the cities, in geometric order, a border that we call, of course, a suburb. In between the bright light of downtown, the city lights, and the far unlit unknown, the countryside. So the suburb is a belt around the city, a very geometric order, make an insulation between the countryside and the big city. Growing up, it all seems so one-sided. Opinions all provided, the future pre-decided, detached and subdivided in the mass production zone. Here, in this verse, the suburb is called the mass production zone. Yep, this is where for which mass production is made. Economically, this is very accurate. And also, there is in these suburbs mass production, we will see of what? But we can already foresee something. Growing up, a person will see it as only one-sided, as if everybody is goes in the same direction. Opinions are all provided. The future is pre-decided, detached, and subdivided. So you have everything already pre-formatted in the suburb as a mass production zone of humans. Yeah, you got it. Minds. Human lives and minds. Let's go further. Nowhere is the dreamer or the misfit so alone. So in that world that we saw, first and second verse, where is the dreamer? There's no space for him because the dreamer does not fit in these little boxes. So they have no space. And they are then misfits. In that world, they are misfits, the dreamers. That's what I call the verse's conclusion, as if it was a kind of a final statement. And you will see how it answers to the other verse conclusion. I mean, in terms of structure, of form, quite remarkable, in fact. Now, the chorus, which is subdivisions in the high school hall. So I would say the target public of this song is the teenager. High school, not fitting in the suburb mind, the suburbs way of life, shopping malls, conform or be cast out. Subdivisions in the basement bars. Here in the back of cars, I think of two, I would call teenagers, I call this acceptance ritual, drinking in the basements, and probably back of cars, I would say first sexual relations in the back of cars, if you done it or not, be cool or be cast out. That would be my first two guesses. But tell me if you agree with that. To me, it sounds as if all this way of life of the teenagers and their rituals and all this, everybody is, enters in that. And if you don't, you're cast out. You reject, we say today. Now let's continue. Quite the description of the suburb way of life of teenagers. Now, this is the section I was telling you that is after I would say the more recognizable chorus is a second section, or maybe a chorus B with chorus quality of melody. Any escape might help to smooth the unattractive truth, but the suburbs have no charm to soothe the restless dreams of youth. So anything that can help you to escape will help to smooth, so we understand that, the unattractive truth of what? of the suburbs. But the suburbs have no charms to soothe. So the escape will not be in the suburb. It will be outside the suburb. The restless dreams of youth. So there is restlessness in the dreams, expectation here of youth, as if all youth doesn't fit. We will see that it's not what happens. Yeah, of course, in a way, the youth, they do not fit in this world, but we will see that some will sell their dreams. Oh, the interior short one with the beautiful signature bell riding way of playing by Peart with the melodic synth of Lee. 2 full cycles, return. There's it's not return to the intro, it's more like evocation. We feel the familiarity, with the intro. Drawn like moth, we drift into the city, the timeless old attraction, cruising for the action, lit up like a firefly just to feel the living night. Here is, to me, the attraction that the city has for the restless dreams of the youth. The fact that, like moth, like night, we could say night butterfly, I think we could say, there's the attraction of light. They are going towards light, so we drift into the city, timeless old attraction, cruising for the action. There will be action in the city, lit up like a firefly. The little firefly has light on its body, it's lit. It's a lit fly. So just to feel the living night. So the little one, the teenagers, I think, will have the impression of light and life when he turns towards the city, okay, and the attraction of the city. Now we will see that that's not the end of it. In fact, some will sell their dreams for small desires. So if the city triggers something, on your way, you could sell larger dreams for little things. You settle for little desires. Or you will lose the race to rats. Rats will win against you and get caught in ticking traps. You will lose. You will lose your race. For these kind of attractions, the city, you will lose the race because rats are there. Because in the city, there's not only light, there are also rats. Here, I don't think it's animals. I think it's human rats looking for feeding on someone else and being caught in traps. Rats, traps. You will be caught by others not wanting you good, and start to dream of somewhere to relax their restless flight. So the little flies going to the city and being all enthusiastic about the city and restless flight, not thinking, being trapped into, I think here, small desires and being caught to restless to rats. I think it's a little bit the accumulation of deeds, not deeds of goods and things. I would tend to think that there is consumerism in there, and all of this little excitement, restless flight, answering to the city, the activity of the city. But then you start to dream of somewhere to relax. That is probably one of the secrets of the dreamer. In the dream, he can relax and is not caught in a race. He's not. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? Conclusion, look how beautiful it is. Somewhere out of a memory of lighted streets on quiet nights. The memory of lighted streets can still be alive on quiet nights. The dreamer can relax and still be fed by the city, by his capacity to dream. You know already the subdivisions in which the dreamer doesn't fit at all. And there is the beautiful bridge. And I think that the bridge is the key to the song. There's a nice synth solo basically made of chords that we already know. I will talk about this uniqueness of Rush. They play a Leibson is exactly like that with his guitar. He plays a certain chord progression from which you can hear very clearly a melody that will be taken by the singer or even the bass and the singer. I never heard anything like that anywhere else. There's a kind of a unity. I find Rush to be quite, in fact, unique in the rock world. Their way of building percussions, the drumming and all the percussions you have, all the instruments, all the parts, is more like classical music, in fact. And I do not mean that they have classical, but everything, even percussions, are sustaining, are connected with the melody and the chord progression to a level I don't see much everywhere else. Most of the time you will have the drums and the bass and sometimes a rhythmic guitar to go on, I would say, by themselves in a way, on which you will have a lead instrument building something or a voice. Here, no such things. No such thing. Of course, you will have section based constructed that way. But here, you will have clearly the synth still being there, and then suddenly the guitar that was almost absent until then flies through the sky. I think that's the dreamer. The only human and unique response to the suburb. And any escape might help to smooth the unattractive truth, but the suburbs have no charms to soothe the restless dreams of youth. So the one youth, the dreamer, is in fact the only one that lives in the suburb. The other one are pre-programmed. And now back to what I call the chords power. By that I mean these deep chords that you have making, just the chord progression makes the melody. Or here I call them melodic chords. Now, in terms of music, it's a very creative format, not unknown of, but it's still creative, with two nice, I would say, chorus quality verses. It's not the greatest melody of Rush, but it's an excellent song. The almost absence of guitars during the song, or they are so discreet, In fact, there are some rhythmic guitar here and there, but the over presence of the synth here is overwhelming. We don't hear the guitar not much until there's the solo till the end. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The almost absence of guitars gives us a sense of pre-formatted and packaged music, and I think that is totally intentional by Rush. By the synth, they represent the suburb. Pre-formatted music. And that's, for me, that's a perfect stand at the music of the 80s. I think that Rush uses the canons of the music of the 80s to say the opposite. The flying guitar enters at one point and comes, I would say, like a cavalry to the rescue. And there are a few goodies in terms of structure and instrumental section. I talked to you a little bit. Also, the fact that the chorus does not come back after the bridge. And there are a few goodies in there. But the structure is easily understandable. Now, in terms of lyrics, the posture of the song is not in the mold, is a not in the mold teen, probably introvert, lost in a suburban neighborhood, and a very well written song in terms of lyrics. The paragraphs answer to each other very well. We can see musicians and writers in control of their art. This is a remarkable song. Now, let's dig a little bit further into the words, and that these are, as usual, and you know me now, sometimes you understand very well the word. Just come here. Come when you see the title of the song. That's what I call the final remarks. Maybe that's the only section you will want to listen next time about a song. That's fine with me, don't worry. I make these videos a little bit long on purpose so that everybody can go directly to the section they want to go. The suburbs are presented as an insulated border between the great city and the countryside. Here is the kingdom of subdivisions, the mass production zone, as written, I think, in the third verse. The whole life, in fact, is a formatted reality, both material and mental reality. People are programmed in suburbs. In this world, there are dreamers and misfits, and I would call them real youth. Those who will go they will pursue profoundly their dreams. The quest to escape the unattractive truth of suburbs. What is this quest? How is it achieved? They talk about the dreams. They talk about maybe music is one of them. Maybe there are other escapes that they are, but to me, it seems more like music, dreams is the key in this song. Now, it shows as well the patterns of suburbs, of reproducing everybody, reproducing the same patterns, the same way of behaving in peer pressure. You know how teenagers, peer pressure, pre-programming of the gang, of the group, of the band, in which the dreamer doesn't fit. He is then cast out. Today we say more a reject. In Quebec, we say a reject. Now, here comes the city in its brightness, calling for the firefly. But the problem with the city is that it is a dream for the pre-programmed teenagers. So there is light in the teenagers and there's a kind of an answer, but the problem is that the city can trap the teenagers of the suburbs. Some will not come out of this city fascination. They will sell their dreams to small desires. They will be caught in ticking traps. It keeps them in a restless flight, constantly flying for a new small desire, or losing time in time-consuming things that these things don't worth the time you spend for them. But the dreamer comes to life in the night. And only the dreamer can come out of the suburb and of the fascination of the city. Only the dreamer still lives and dreams on quiet night. The restlessness of youth is being taken hostage by the city. Yeah, but the dreamer will not be caught in this. Now, have you noticed that I divided subdivision? Because I think that the title means not the subdivisions, also a little bit. I think it means the divisions of the suburb divisions. The suburb is a division between the city and the countryside, but more importantly, it's the formator, the one that format divisions in the lives and in the minds of those living in the suburb. By definition, the suburb will tend to bring together same kind of people and tend to exclude those who don't fit. The togetherness of the suburbs with the pre-formatted minds are represented by the synth. And the broken measures that we have right from the beginning, to me, is saying something is wrong in that seemingly all-togetherness. Something doesn't go well. Okay? But real life, which is a synonymous of a dream in that song, which is also the opposite of the cast out, the inclusion, are on the side of the dreamer, but also on the side of individuality. The guitar between the second C and D is the dreamer. To dare to be different and to come out of the mold. I want to be myself. I don't want to be like the others. And whatever they say, I will go on my path, my own path. This is how I make sense of that song. The suburb as being the formatter, the one that formats minds and material life. And the more I think of it, of the theme, of the music, the more I think it's a brilliant song. Now, as a rocker of, I would say, maybe, yeah, because hard rock was always very strong for me, very important for me. I would say the what seemed to me the overuse of synth at the time was a disappointment. But when I listened to that, 82, it's 38 years away, I can see how brilliant they were. And they were able to continue their career. They went through the 80s like and they had to stop because the drummer died 1.5 years ago. That's remarkable. They have been faithful to each other all these years, because there was something right about them, you know. So this is it for Subdivision. I listened to the album, the whole album, Signals, as much as I didn't like it 38 years ago. I first reacted a bit like last time, saying, well, that's not the Rush I prefer. But like I said, after listening to it 4 or 5 times, I see that they are still genius musicians. Remarkable. It's remarkable, even if it's not their best. I would say, I would say it's about between 65% and 75% quality of musicianship, of moving picture. But we all know, like, even a bad album of Genesis is great compared to most of the other pop musicians of that time. To me, anyways. That's pretty much what I think as well of Rush. Even not so good album of Rush is better music than most of the others, right? To my taste, anyway. Don't forget, on Wednesdays, we have our reaction video with a premiere. So that means that we chat, and we are always 12, 15, 20 people. It's great. If you can make it, you are always welcome. Wednesdays, 7:30 in Europe, 1:30 in Canada. The analysis, it comes out. Sometimes I make a small premiere to talk with few persons, but most of the time I just publish it automatically around, it's between 11 and 1:30 on Saturday most of the time. So the analysis like this one in English. Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel. You are always welcome here. And also, don't forget to comment down here. Does it make sense? And it will be nice having few remarks from you. Until now, until the next time, I say bye-bye to all of you. And it will be a pleasure to meet you again. Bye-bye.